Now I got a request recently from John H., who asked if I could tie some non-traditional terrestrials. Flies like a June bug or katydid. We even talked about doing a ladybug. That would be a pretty fun fly. So I flipped through a couple of my books and I found a really cool crane fly in Mike Dahl's Fly Tyers manual. Now a couple of things about this pattern. First off, it's all natural materials, so I know Jim Vatter's going to love this one. And as crazy as it looks, it's really not that hard to tie, and I will show you one tip for how I knot pheasant tail fibers when I'm doing legs on patterns like this. I use this little tool called a latch hook, available online for just a couple of bucks or, at any sewing supply store. And what I'll do if I'm about to tie a bunch of hoppers with pheasant tail legs, I'll go ahead and make a bunch of them and just keep it on the stem and then snip them off as I need them. And one more thing worth noting about this fly, it's not a high floater at all, but it is realistic enough that, one good tactic for fishing this is to just toss it out there in the slower, still water and just wait. Now, I know you might be tempted to twitch it, but don't. Just let it sit out there and wait where a cruising fish might come by and see it. Now, I've never fished a pattern like this like that, but according to Mike Dawes, that's a good tactic, and I can see it working. Now, if you did want this fly to be a little more buoyant, I'd just use some foam for the body. Just cut a thin strip of brown or tan and wrap it up the body like you would any material. Now that still won't make it a real high floater, but it would probably make it float a little bit better than the one I'm about to show you. Now I think this is a pretty cool looking fly. Definitely fun to tie, and probably not a bad idea to have a couple of these in your terrestrial box. So there's one in the vise, a crane fly. Now certainly a cool looking bug, and not the easiest tie, but it's not terribly difficult either. Now before I put the hook in there, I'm going to show you a tip using this little latch hook of how to knot pheasant tail fibers. So what you do, just grab one of your fibers and then create a little loop in it, kind of like this right here. So we've got a loop. And now this little tool, you can just kind of poke it up through there, and it's got that little latch so that when you pull it back down through, you can pull it through just like that right there. And that's a pretty easy and quick way to knot one single fiber. Now if you're doing it with multiple, maybe you're doing a hopper, multiple fibers, I just do it while it's still on the stem here, tie 2 or 3 of them together and then cut them off as I need them. I'll put a link to that latch hook in the description. I got a pack of 4 of them. I think it was maybe $8 or $9. Now the hook on this is a 10 or 12 long shank. So I think this is a 6 extra long, but I think anywhere between a 3X and 6 extra long is going to be fine. And I'm going to use brown thread. So just lay a base down all the way back to the start of the bend. And since I'm tying this one like the original, or the recipe in the book, the body I'm going to use is a cinnamon turkey feather, or 4 strands from one right here. And we're going to catch this in and really, like you do a pheasant tail nymph, we're going to wrap this up as the body. Now this is certainly not going to help the fly float. If you want a little bit more floatability on it, I would consider cutting a thin strip of a brown foam and then just wrap that up like we're doing this here. I think it would make it float a little bit better. And I'm not going to use my Hackle pliers because I'm not going to really spin this. I'm just going to kind of wrap it up like a pheasant tail, take it all the way up there to where my thread's hanging. Okay, I think that is far enough forward. We do have a little bit going on up front, so we can't take it too far up. Now the next thing I want to catch in, just 6 of these knotted pheasant tail fibers, and I'm going to catch them in on the bottom. And the kind of cool thing about this is you don't have to be too meticulous about getting them lined up right. In fact, probably don't really want them to. We want them just going all over the place. So we got them caught in right there, and we're going to spread them all out here shortly in just a second. But get them caught in, we'll trim this excess. Now the next thing I'm going to catch in is some ginger or light brown hackle tip feathers right here. We're going to tie it tent style. I want these to be about the length of the body, maybe even just a little bit longer. But I'm going to catch them in, pointing back, but we'll splay them out spent style here in just a second. Okay, we got that right there, and I'm going to put my thread at the back of it. I might have made a little nick in my thread right there, so I'm going to take a few extra wraps to just work through that. Now I'm going to spread these out here and then put a few X wraps in between them. Okay, that took me a little longer than I planned, but I think we're fine. As long as you got them coming out kind of perpendicular to the body, I think you'll be fine. Now the next thing we're going to catch in, just a brown hackle fiber. And this is really probably going to be about the only thing that makes this fly float. So you might want to put oversize it just a little bit, and certainly we're going to hackle it pretty heavily, maybe up to 8 wraps or so. We'll see what that does for us. Okay, when you've got enough wraps, you think, go ahead and catch this off. And we should have enough room for a 4 or 5 turn whip finish right here. Now what you can do, you can go ahead and, pull 3 of these legs out to one side and 3 of them to the other side, and there you go. Or you could just, not even worry about that. Put it in your box, and then maybe when you get down the river, pull these legs out. As is, it's going to take up a lot of room in any fly box. But that's it. It's a pretty simple pattern, a pretty cool looking fly, and you know that in certain situations, this thing is going to work for you. So that's it, everybody. I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.